We need it done this year.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Dan.
I'm Bob.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Mike.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today we're taking a look at Turing Machine by Scorpion Masque. Or, Mike?
Le Scorpion Masque.
Anyway. So I'm going to throw it to Spencer, as this is, he probably has the most time with this game out of all of us. I think I was there every time, but I'm still going to throw it to you.
Okay, well, I played it. You weren't playing it the one time.
That's true. That's
so this is a game where you are trying to figure out a 3-digit number, and each digit is going to be between 1 and 5. So what you're going to do is first to figure out what number you want to test. And this little round thing down here is going to ask the questions. These cards here are the questions you are asking, and these are the verification sheets, which give you the answer. So let's say I wanted to test this one. It asks, so the first number is a triangle, the second one is a square, and the last one is a circle. This asks, is the triangle greater than, less than, or equal to 3? So if I wanted to ask that question, let's say I wanted to see if it was less than, I would pick my triangle to be a 1. That's less than 3.
Right.
So
grab a purple one as well.
Purple one.
You can test 3 questions
yes,
that
you
way
get to
for
test
them.
3 questions each round. Then you have to put in a new number and test those. And so now I have a 1 here, so that can test if it's even or odd. And it can test the value here. So I actually don't care in this one about the third number, so whatever, I got a 5. So I put them together. You see, you put them together so that you can see one hole poking through here, and these are all completely aligned. And then you will ask the question A. You align the numbers into like that. And it says 1 is less than 3. Or the triangle is less than 3. So it's either a 1 or a 2. So I can immediately cross off on my little sheet the 3, 4, and 5.
Yep. I want to interject right here. One of the things I had a hard time grasping is you're testing the relationship of the numbers. It's not that number
It
specifically.
doesn't mean that it's a 1.
Correct. It's just that, yes, that triangle, since you put a triangle number that is less than 3 and you got the verification, that means that, yes, the triangle number at the very end of the game, will be less than 3. Not necessarily a 1, but less than 3.
Then I'm going to ask, is purple even or odd? Make certain it's perfectly aligned, or you'll get a false positive or negative. And it says here, purple is odd.
Sorry, check mark?
Yep,
Check mark.
Okay.
And then we'll
I
ask,
could have just looked there.
so is blue, the first one, greater than, equal to, or less than the third one, the purple?
So in this case, we're testing if
So
they're
we're
the
gonna see
same.
if they're
Compare
equal.
numbers.
So here, are they equal? No, they're not.
No, they're not equal.
And then I would put these numbers back.
And so then on the little deduction sheet here, you kind of put your information that you've learned. So Dan is putting that the triangle has to be less than 3. The 0 or the circle is odd.
Oh, I wrote that in the wrong spot. This goes here.
So now that you, for instance, we know that the circle is odd, so just cross off the 2 and the 4,
Right.
so you'll know never to go after those again. Yeah. And so in the first round, you have eliminated, you only have 2 options for this one. You only have 3 options for this one. The hardest one is going to be finding the triangle.
Square.
And, I know my shapes.
It's
a
fine.
square.
I would also
Are you sure? Because you said
probably
round.
put
I
in
know.
your
That's
notes,
terrible.
in your deduction notes, I would put that the triangle does not equal the circle.
Yeah.
Well, it's less than 3.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't. But yes, I could write for the one that we didn't know for C, right? I could say.
Well, you know it's
that-
not a 1, so you could. Well, I guess you don't know if it's a 1 or not.
Yeah,
Right, right.
Exactly.
Calm down.
Because less than or
That's
equal
why
to.
I haven't won.
The triangle doesn't equal the circle is what I would put.
No,
That
I
would
just
be
I would
interesting
just
to
remember that. I would
Okay.
remember that I
Yep.
tested that as
I
well.
would.
So
But
after
I would
everyone
not.
has asked 3 questions,
Up to 3 questions.
up to, and that is important
It is.
because at the end,
If there's a
it's
tie.
the number of questions
Yeah.
that is asked that
Fewest
wins the tie.
questions.
Yeah, the fewest questions.
So you can ask one question per round, but
Good luck. At the end of the round, everyone says, "Am I going to guess?" And I don't have enough information.
No.
I'm not going to guess.
I'm
Or
gonna
I
guess.
am going to guess. I'm going to look in the book because the answer is only in the book. It's on
For
page
the
2,
tutorial
for
ones.
the tutorial, and I'm not going to give you guys the answer. But you turn it upside down right here. I'm like, oh look, I'm totally wrong.
right.
So now Spencer's
And now I'm
on.
out of the game because I know the answer.
right.
But I made my deduction, and then they go on to round 2, where they'll pick 3 different digits for their new number.
Oh, maybe.
Well, it could be the same
Yeah.
digits, but a new number that they'll test. new questions to ask, and keep going like this until
Someone gets
someone figures it out and gets it right.
Or three,
Or
or
everyone
three
gets
people
it
get it
wrong.
wrong, and there's one person less.
In a 4-player game, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's like, you know what? I think I won't guess.
Yeah.
I think I'll just go
Ask
on.
every
I'll live on
question
in my
ever.
ignorance.
I'm just going to ask every single question of every single number.
Sure. So that is the basics on the rundown of how to play. There is a lot of like I don't even know
Logic.
the wording. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go into when you're actually playing the game. Like, until you actually do it and you get that feeling of the type of logic you're doing, it's hard to just have it explained to you, I think.
It is.
But that is the basic idea. You make a 3-digit number per round. You can test that single 3-digit number up to 3 times. You keep track of your notes, and then you try to figure out using this little part over here what the answers are.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
Components?
there's a bit of learning curve to this game, and we're all experienced gamers. But the first time you play this game, it's not going to sink in right away. It really doesn't. It's not obvious that the number you're putting in is you're getting the answer of how that number relates to the actual number. So there is a learning curve. I mean, I didn't quite get what I was doing the first couple times, but then I won our second game. So
Let's calm
there
down.
you go.
Okay, so components?
Yeah, let's go into components.
What's in the box?
Anyone have anything they want to mention immediately?
Yes.
This thing's
These are
sort
cool.
of useless, though.
It is kind of useless.
You're too busy looking down here.
What I wound up
It needs to be
doing,
bigger.
what
Yeah,
I wound up
I
doing was
saw
I
that like
folded
that.
the bottom half,
Right,
That's
kinda
not
work
bad.
on
and
half
then I would
half.
just flip because
Yeah.
these rarely
It needs
happen.
bigger
right?
wings on the side here to cover up the whole.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was not
yeah.
trying to look at other people's clues, but like it's too easy to see them.
Yeah, it's
these
rough.
need to be way, way bigger. I mean,
The bright side with that is it is extremely difficult to accidentally see someone's paper, even for like 2 whole seconds, and get anything from it because there are
yeah.
numbers
a lot of
everywhere.
marks
and
and
like
numbers
I'd have to see the number he wrote down and which
questions
check
he
marks and
asked.
X's are there and
Yeah.
which spot they're on.
Sure.
And,
And I
so
don't
it's hard to
necessarily-
accidentally cheat. I think.
I don't necessarily write them all in the right places either.
Sure.
As long as it makes sense to me.
Well,
that's all
evidently
that
I
matters.
don't.
Well, no wonder I lost.
I love that.
This is so cool,
These,
though.
yeah. So you pick a number, and you put them together, and
Yeah, like a lot of.
yeah, I
cards.
got a lot of cards, but they're all
Yeah,
going to
what's
make
this-
just a single hole.
What's this called? Like dot matrix? Is that what this is called?
No, it's not dot matrix.
Not dot
matrix.
matrix. The old computers with the
A Turing machine?
the scanning sheets is what I'm saying.
Scantron.
Scantron is that?
Yeah, it's kind of like Scantron.
I'm talking about the really, really old computers where they literally and
Yeah.
they fed the papers through it. But when I hear Scantron,
yeah, no,
I think
it's
of
the punch.
SAT
Yeah,
stuff.
the punch.
So,
boards that you had to put through.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Yes,
And
this
that
is
would run the
exactly. It's like-
program a
yeah,
window
which is
ago,
why it's
things,
called
yeah.
Turing Machine. He
Right.
kind of invented this whole stuff.
on accident, right?
Yeah,
Didn't he?
well, give him credit. Give him credit.
But
That's
it's
fantastic.
pretty ingenious the whole way it's built up. Right, you reuse these cards, and they've got all types of like check marks and X's all
Yeah,
over
I mean,
them.
this is man.
and
this
they've got
is
It means
crazy.
nothing
they've got
to
what,
you if you actually pick one up.
40 or 50 in the book, and then
No,
you
there's
they
like
go
20 in the
online.
book, but
you go
there's
online and they
millions
have,
online.
Yeah, millions of them.
This just a box. Let's look at the box.
It's pretty
Yep.
cool. It's interesting.
If you put it together correctly,
Oh yeah.
It gives you either a happy or angry face.
up at the top,
Dan's still learning boxes, but we're getting there.
it tells you put the lid on right.
That means it lines up with the backside correctly.
Right.
Yes.
That is hilarious, and
Oh,
it
the-
also makes this
the
3D
green,
Yeah.
as well.
And
It's
like
got a
the
little
green
chip on there.
background because that's the instructions.
Be careful of your cats because we get corrugated cardboard for cats. They like to put their claws on it. Yeah,
Ooh.
they think that's corrugated and they like to put their claws on it.
Yeah,
so.
he's got some damaged
Damage.
boxes.
Cards quality just
Emotional
fine.
damage.
I think fantastic
Yeah.
quality, honestly.
Yeah.
Like on all the cards.
Yeah, and it's dry erase, so you use a little marker to mark which way. And make sure you mark a large X because a lot
Yeah.
of times people go to pick it up and,
And
it
it
wipes
rubs
right
off.
off. So
That's
make
a
a good
little
size
problem.
mark on there. Make sure you put it back in the right spot.
Yep.
This one, it's kind of sometimes a little fiddly putting it back. Like back here, like, oh, no,
Yeah,
it
a little
doesn't fit.
bit.
But I'm
Yeah.
not certain how you can actually improve that.
Yeah, I just slide them in from the sides instead.
yeah.
The problem is whenever I set it up, I want to organize it to where it goes blue, yellow, purple.
I know,
blue,
me
yellow,
too,
purple, but
but
then it instantly
goes
gets
away.
destroyed. So I don't know why I do that.
I kind of wish since they already had dry erase markers in the box
Just laminate
that your
these.
deduction sheets could have been dry erase.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know,
It is weird. Spencer was pointing this out. They give you a dry erase marker, or no eraser, by the way, but they give you a dry erase marker just to mark these. That's
it.
all
The
you
whole
use it
thing.
for. And then they give you this just to mark that, but then they give you paper,
Large pad of
sheets.
paper.
Yeah,
Nice thick
and
pad of
no
paper.
pens or pencils.
Two-sided, though. They're
Like,
two-sided.
what a weird mix
I
of
know.
components.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Rule book. I haven't had to really go through it. What do
There's
you guys?
not much.
What do you,
well,
what do you
I haven't
think?
had-
so I
teaching
actually
from it?
haven't looked at the rule book because I was taught it at Gen Con, and there's
Yeah, right. Cover the answers. up.
absolutely no reason to look in the rule book after you
Yeah.
learn the game.
Yeah, once you're taught the game again. So
Other than to get the
Spencer was taught by Scorpion Masque.
Yes.
Spencer then taught me. He taught some of us, but like some people were like really tired and stuff. But
Late.
then like Spencer and I can now easily teach other people.
yeah.
Like it
not that
really
hard.
is almost like a telephone of rules, right?
So
it just keeps
the last
passing
person to
on.
get taught will be playing it completely wrong.
Right. Every time it gets passes, you lose a rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's like fiddly, but extremely simple at the same time. You know,
simple
like,
to
and-
play, hard to master.
And I have
Perhaps.
one more comment on the
Unless you're me who
components.
won his second game.
well,
0 for 3.
well, you're
Or
welcome
4.
for asking. For answering all 30 questions you had while you were
I
playing.
had a lot of questions. Yes.
I have one more comment on the components, but I'm
Sure.
going to actually leave it for final thoughts because
Right.
it's kind of a both thing.
Yeah,
I'd
it's going
like-
to take a while.
I would like to add that again, the reason that we're reviewing this game is because they sold out of Gen
Oh my God,
Con
look at that.
It was so
by
hot.
Friday.
Yeah.
The Scorpion Masque booth,
Yep.
this in
The hash
Acropolis,
yep.
every single morning there were people lined up, and then somebody would come out with a sign that says, "We're sold out." They
Yeah.
sold out of this game very fast.
Yep.
So there was a lot of hype about this game at Gen Con.
Yeah. So we're actually going to move into final thoughts, where we'll kind of tell you everything we think, one at a time, kind of just try to focus it, and then we'll give a rating after that. So let's jump to final thoughts. Final thoughts. Man, I don't know who to go first, guys. Like, there's a lot here. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go.
right.
Like, to me, it feels a lot like, and we've talked about this before, like it's a solo game you're playing with friends. And
For
it's like-
sure.
and who can kind of figure it out the fastest.
who can
fewest
solo
amount of
the
questions.
best.
Yes, exactly. And I don't mind that, right? Because I play a lot of solo games. I like puzzle deduction types of games. I wish I was better at it. But I think this is super innovative. Like, designing this, like, mind-blowing.
my
Like,
God,
I don't know how the heck
crazy.
they managed to figure out, okay, I'm going to make this one, but I'm going to need, like, 20 holes in it, and some of them longer and bigger than the other ones.
and
like, it's...
And these.
Yeah, and then making sure the
The
cards all
math
work. And look at
behind
look at that stack of
this.
cards that come with it. Like,
This is
huge.
whenever I see stuff like this is where I always think like, man, I should have like mastered Excel, because a lot of times these people just like have a bot that they just like do, and then it's like
I
it'll,
am
like
willing to
program
bet.
stuff.
I'm willing to bet they use matrix algebra to do that. And
Sure.
having taken matrix algebra, I am super impressed. That is a huge matrix.
Yeah.
That is amazing. They had to use a computer for that.
Yeah.
A
But-
Turing machine, maybe?
there's a wide selection of the questions that you get to ask, which are super interesting and help to, because like, man, how are you going to figure out if that's supposed to be the 5 or the 1? It's like, oh, because there's this one that says, is it ascending? Is it descending?
Right.
Is it random order? And like, so you can always figure out. There's never a guess, right? Technically, if you have enough turns to ask all the questions you want, you can get the definitive answer by asking the questions.
Right,
that
there
are
are
on the
going to be
board.
times to where, like, I don't see it here exactly, but there are going to be times to where there are 6 clues out and none of them hit towards square.
Right.
But that's because by learning the relationship
Relationship
between
everything
between
else.
triangle and circle related to everything, you'll be able to just
Deduce.
figure
Yeah.
out,
Yes.
deduce square.
And there are the questions that you only ever had to ask once. Is it even or odd?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I found out
Man,
it's odd.
those are always so relaxing.
I know. Mark those off. We're good to go. I know. Yeah. So, but yes, I like that. This is super cool. Yeah, those are about basically my final thoughts on that.
Okay, I think I'm going to go to Mike. Just final thoughts.
Yeah, deduction is not always my favorite type of game mechanism. I haven't played a lot of them either.
Unless it's social deduction.
I do love social deduction. I am much better at reading social cues and tells
Okay, hey,
than
Mike.
I am doing logical deduction.
Am I a 1, 3, 5?
Well, maybe I'll have to
Yeah,
start looking
you're
at
pretty
people's
odd.
reactions to the cards that they draw.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of replayability in here.
Oh, yeah.
I
No.
mean, tons.
You
He'll
just
get,
gave me
he'll
an
get
idea.
more into that.
He just
Yeah,
gave me
I
an
know.
idea.
he already knows that you can get more of these cards. But no, I enjoyed this quite a bit. I don't really have any complaints on this game. It can be a little short, like the last game. Somebody figured it out in the second round, so we were done in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But not that that's a bad thing, but like you set all this up, and it takes a few minutes to figure out, which one of these cards need to come out, and the numbers, the cards are all numbered, but they're not quite organized in the easiest way, so setup is a little bit more of a chore than it should be for a game that can end in 15 minutes. But it's definitely a game that if you're taking the time to set this up and play it with a group that enjoys it, play it 3 or 4 times in a row. Like, I don't see why you'd ever play this once. Like, you would play this multiple times. So
it doesn't take that long.
It was a pretty solid game. Yeah, it goes quick, and it's a good crunchy puzzle
Brain
to
burner
figure
kinda,
out.
yeah.
It definitely is.
To counter Mike's point, I almost always love deduction games and logic deduction.
me too.
I loved the Search for Planet X. I love Cryptid. I really like spatial things and I like deduction things, and so some of those are more of that. This one doesn't really have the spatial thing, right? But yeah, so when I was explained the rules, I was like, that's fascinating, and then I played it and I was like, this is fascinating. Right? And then I've played it a bunch since then. So yeah, that thing definitely does it for me. Yeah, it does have a lot of setup, but we still haven't looked online and heard from blogs from the designer and stuff on if there's organization methods to this to make it faster, or if it had to be this way because of the way the matrix works and stuff. I don't know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my kind of guess on that is you're doing the what is it, 616 in blue, so get that card, and then later on it's like, grab the 402 yellow, so that way. Yeah, you're grabbing the same card, but you don't know you're grabbing the same card. Because some people have that memory to where they're like, 616 blue, I know that one answers certain ways for certain questions sometimes.
Ooh, yeah, I guess. Good luck with that in this game.
Well, some people are crazy smart like that.
Yeah, one of the reasons it might not be sequential is that they know certain questions have to be asked for certain puzzles, and they can't be on the same card, obviously.
Of course.
That too.
So I get it partially, but at the same time, I still feel like this could have been organized a little better.
Sure.
I definitely described this game kind of as a joke, but I mean it is literally like Clue the math game, right? You're asking questions, you're eliminating your possibilities and everything, but even if someone guesses early and they guess wrong, they're out of the game, and then the rest of the people play and stuff. It has a lot of the basic framework of what Clue wants to be, but then it's but you're making a computer or whatever, right? You're programming a Turing
you're asking
machine.
a computer.
You are the
instead of a
computer.
person.
Yeah, you sure.
That's it. Yeah, you're asking the computer.
But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really wanted to say, because I know there were a couple things, but you guys mentioned quite a bit. So yeah, I don't know. Final thoughts. I really enjoy these kind of games, and I did really enjoy this one with some of its interesting flaws. I think the production value here and the amount of effort going into designing this game seems off the charts to me. So, I don't know. I think that's all I'm going to say for now, especially because I know Spencer's got a hot take. So,
yeah. Well, I also love deduction logic things, and this one is like the epitome of just using logic to figure something out. And it's such a simple thing to figure out. So I got it immediately when I was explained how to play, and I mean just trying to deduce what are the best questions to ask is its own puzzle in and of itself. So I really enjoy that. But I found out last game that you also have to be extremely careful when you're playing. If something gets put back in the wrong place, if you don't have it exactly aligned where each one of those is showing, you could get a false positive or false negative. And on the last game we played, I don't know what I did wrong and got an incorrect answer. And when I double-checked it later, it told me
a different answer.
Different answer. And so I realized we would have probably tied because we both would have had it in 6. But, I mean, I have to say that that's a user error, and I lost because I made a mistake.
which computers don't do.
Oh, look, that means I passed the Turing test.
Right, exactly.
But at the same time, as a logic thing, I don't want to be able to have that possibility of losing because you got a false positive.
So make sure it's lined up correctly.
Be very careful of which ones. In fact, when we were setting it up, the very first time we played this today, I grabbed a card, and the two cards were very close to each other. One was a 2 and one was a 7, and I just grabbed the wrong one, put it down, and none of us could figure out the answer because obviously it doesn't work when you have the wrong answers.
Gives you the wrong answers.
So from then on, we were like, okay, is A number 273 and things like that. And so we're verifying as you go through. I think that's a
good idea.
Yeah.
And I can see that as a negative for the fact that if it's a 10-minute game and you spend 10 minutes to set it up,
play it twice.
that's sure. I'm just saying
10 minutes each time?
but then you have to set it up again.
Sure,
you know?
yes.
But yeah, so I can see that affecting people. But also, so Spencer, the book comes with like 20,
Yes.
20 like
20 or so.
beginner ones they call it or
Yeah.
something with the answers in the book.
And-
But you can go online.
Yeah, you can get millions of them online. It has the website in the book. It also, at least I haven't looked online yet, but in the book it tells you the luck factor and the skill factor and the difficulty factor, and I'm like, that's pretty
true.
cool.
We didn't
That's
check.
cool.
So
I did. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, so for the one that he just accidentally got the number on his first shot,
Yeah,
and that
literally
made it
guessed
really
the right
easy.
number
What
on the
was
first
the high? Was there a high luck?
That was a
factor
low
on that
luck
one?
factor and a high skill
Interesting,
factor.
Interesting.
Well, I mean,
so
it's a three-digit
BS
number.
is what I'm hearing.
Well,
he asked the right question, and actually,
Right.
I asked the same questions,
Right.
and so I also got lucky,
Sure.
and unlucky at the same time.
Yeah.
The one more thing I wanted to say is, as I've played with 3 different groups of people now, I've noticed there are some people who take to this like a fish to water,
Yeah.
and some people who you just got to hold them under the water until they drown, and then they get it. So be patient with it. It doesn't make sense. It's not like intelligent people versus unintelligent people.
what is that
Totally
could never
intelligent people
Right.
just have a hard time because
Well,
the
and it
questions
can
are
come-
very specific.
And it can come from the type of logic you do too.
That could be
because
it,
so
right.
I know that I play Sudoku constantly. I love Sudoku, and I'm not saying that's related to this, but I tend to do those type of logic puzzles a lot just in my free time.
Yeah, I do
And the-
nanograms.
Sure. Yeah, I do all sorts
Yeah.
of. I have apps on my phone that are just different type of decryption,
Yeah.
logic games. And I don't know, like if you do any of that kind of stuff,
I
or,
mean, I do
or if you
Sudokus
do
and
any
stuff
of
like
that,
that.
or
But
like
I think the biggest thing for me was the realizing that you're not testing the actual number you put that you're putting in here. You're testing the relationships between things. Because I
Right.
was playing one time and I was like, oh, I'm testing the triangle. Then I'm testing the triangle versus the circle. And I was like, oh, those are the same. Okay. No. It just meant that what I had was correct. The relationship was correct, not that they were those numbers.
right. It wasn't
And
that
was
it was
throwing me off.
3. It's
Correct.
that it was less than 4. So you
Correct.
like narrowed it down. You didn't get 100% positive.
Correct.
Right.
And that's what I didn't grasp the first
Yep.
time I played.
Right. But yeah, okay. So we honestly we could talk about this for a while because there's a lot of interesting depth that goes into the logic here. But we should probably
Yeah,
move
let them
on
have
to
the
our
logic.
final ratings here.
Yeah.
So let's jump to that.
So, Dan, how do we score?
That's okay.
Just trying to get out of it.
Have you ever seen the Benedict Cumberbatch movie? So we're going to give Turing Machine a rating from 1 to 10. We're each going to do that, and we do use 0.5s. That way, if you relate to one of us more than others, or if you agreed with the final thoughts that one of us had more than others, you can listen to kind of our personal opinion on it. But then at the end, we're going to average them all together and give you one score, because that's what we put on Board Game Geek and stuff. And also, it's just nicer to have a kind of an umbrella score at the end of the day, so we can say Board Game Rundown gave it X, right? So I don't know who I want to hear from first. I feel like, Mike, you're the newest to the game, so I want to hear what you got to say.
Sure. Simply put, this game is an 8 for me. I always say if a game is 8 or higher, I would go out and buy it. And if it's 7 or higher, maybe I didn't want to put it in my collection, but you should definitely try it. I would buy this and I would play the heck out of it. There's a very interesting logical puzzle here. It's cool to be kind of racing the other people to see who can get it first. There's a ton of replayability, and that is always very big to me. I don't want every game to feel exactly the same. Not only are there different codes that come with it, there are a different combination of clues that come with each game. So, yeah, I mean, I think you could play this hundreds of times and just have a completely different game each time.
sure.
I was very impressed, and yeah, I would definitely recommend this one.
Bob.
I am with Mike. I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a solid game. I'm glad I picked it up. I don't have to hunt for it. I think this is a super neat mechanic. And, yeah, you could keep playing it, and it's not going to be the same game twice. So.
I'll go. This game is almost only positives for me. I love this kind of stuff. The only things for me is it's a little fiddly. It doesn't bother me as much as maybe other people's, and it might bother me more than some other people, right? Like I'm somewhere in the middle there. And then my only other thing is I don't like how solo it feels. I
like
wish
more player
I wish
interaction.
there was more player. Honestly, I thought it would be really cool to have a variant to where like we're all working together and like I only have a certain clue or something and you only have a certain clue and we're trying to work together to try to figure out, hey, I don't know what info you're getting, but you don't know what info I'm getting, so we're kind of solving
We'd
our
have to
own
mess
puzzles.
around
and-
with
Maybe
that a bit. Figure it out.
Yeah.
co-op variant.
There must be
somehow.
some way to do that.
That's just me though. I just don't really like solo games. So while I'm playing this, I like figuring out the puzzle, but then really it's just all four of us staring down, figuring out a puzzle, and then we just go, okay, is everyone done? Let's move on to the next round.
Yep.
And then we're all just working on our own puzzle again, right? But with those two knocks, and honestly, I'm a huge fan of Search Planet X, and I got to look at what I gave that game because I might up that game. I just am so into deduction. But I'm giving Turing Machine a 9.5.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I love this game.
Apparently.
There are very few feelings for me better than putting a puzzle together and writing these numbers down and like this kind of garbage you guys see right here of me writing these numbers down, figuring these out and crossing these off and circling these and writing down as I figure things out. This is one of my favorite things to do. Whether it's a game in my spare time when I'm bored, I wouldn't mind doing it as a job. I love these, and I can't give it a 10. There are things that I wish were done better, but I love this
If
game.
there was a co-op mode, it'd be a 10.
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
So am I hearing you want to major in like math?
I've always been amazing at math, and I've always like I've always picked it up. It's been really easy, but then like I don't like doing it. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is.
It's like Jon Snow. You just don't like what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so I loved the game as well. The little fiddly things, how difficult it can be to make sure everything's just matched up right, is a minor thing to me. And we learned, okay, you make the mistake once, now you just verify when you set up the
Right.
game. The mistakes you'll pretty much only make once, and then from then on you're going to be like, okay, I'm not doing that again. So I'm not really going to give it a knock because of that. And you said you don't like playing solo games. Well, I do like playing solo games, but I don't like playing them when I'm alone, which is kind of why you play solo games.
sure.
So playing solo games with other people?
Yeah, because you
kinda
still get the
like.
table talk.
Yeah. So this one is a 9 for me.
Okay, so
Sounds like a good score.
with those four scores together, Bob, what are we sitting at?
8.6.
8.6 for Turing Machine.
good.
If you guys like Logic games, hey, personal camera that I never look at. If you guys like Logic games, I really think this is one of the better ones on the market. I mean, in all fairness, I like all of them, so maybe take that with a grain of salt. But
But I agree with him this time, so yeah.
right. But it's just a mixture of simplicity and complicated in this beautiful whirlpool that just really comes together, I think.
And I commend the
Elegant
people who design
whirlpool.
this.
Yeah.
The people who design this, you're geniuses. I
Yeah.
commend you. It's amazing.
Or you cheated off someone else's paper, and
You're very good at cheating. Off
one of those two. Yeah. Well, I think that's it, guys. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. Then from the board game rundown, I've been Dan,
That was Bob.
I'm not a robot.
I was Mike.
and this was Turing Machine from Scorpion Masque. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.